25. Oh my god, episode 25 of Let's Talk Board Games. Crikey, has time flown. This is just nuts. I couldn't have thought that it would be 5 episodes later, or 5 months later, still running this amazing show with one of my best friends, Mr. George Yo.
Yeah.
And of course, today we've got an amazing guest. We have Pearl. I say hi, Pearl.
Hello, everybody.
So Pearl is one of the co-designers of Cake of Doom, and we're going to be chatting. There she is, flashing away her t-shirt. We're going to be talking about, obviously, Cake of Doom and talking some board games in general. It's always nice. We like to have conversations about board games. Let's face it, we're a board games channel. For anyone who is not familiar with Diary of a Lincoln Geek, because if you aren't by now, we're really shocked, but we do get new watchers all the time. We're a board game review channel, and we like to talk to designers about their games and upcoming Kickstarters. And yours has been in development now for how long, Pearl?
Oh, it's longer than you think always, isn't it? It's almost 2 years now since
Wow.
Amar and I started working on the game. We didn't even set out to do a game, and the next thing you know, it's 2022, and you're on a live stream talking about the game.
That's crazy. It's crazy. And of course, this is an interactive show, as you already know, Pearl, but our listeners and watchers aren't always aware that they can actually have comments on stream, and you can put in your questions to Pearl as we're chatting. We've got about 4 people watching live at the moment. I came for the cake, I'm staying for the Doom, says Richard Lawson. Hi there, Richard, one of our friends of the channel. I think you know Richard as well, Pearl. Yes, you do. Yes, we all know Richard.
Everyone knows Richard.
Fellow. Yes, everyone knows Richard. Yes, but of course we're talking about your game today. But yes, you say you've been in development for a couple of years. Chris Briscoe. Hi, I recognise these people. Yes, we recognise you too, Chris. It's lovely to have you on the show. Oh, Joe, Paul, cake theme game. Is this cake real, or is it a portal thing? I've been hurt too many times. No,
The cake is not a lie.
The cake is not a lie. Hang around for the cake theme. Trust me, you will learn more. If you've got more and more questions for Pearl as we go along, then feel free. We've got lots of people watching at the moment. Don't remember to hit that all-important like and share as we're watching, because we appreciate it. In the meantime, we'll crack on with the show, and let's delve into it. George, before I forget, is there anything that I need to be aware of that I might have forgotten about?
Not what I can think of.
No. Okay, cool. And then we'll crack on with the show. So,
I mean, we'll obviously do our obligatory social media plugs later, and of course get everyone on our Discord as well.
Yes. So if you are watching and you're on the Discord as well, you can pop your questions across, and we'll keep those up. I have those up on my other screen. I think George does too. So yeah. But no, Pearl, it's lovely to see you again. The last time we physically saw you was at UK Games Expo. Looking a little bit healthier this time.
Are you insinuating that aliens are not healthy life forms, Chris?
Maybe not.
I think being dragged away by them isn't that healthy.
Yeah.
This is exactly the kind of comment that leads them to invade Earth with cakes. Just saying.
I know. And invading the Earth with cakes is never a bad thing, because let's face it, the humans of Earth like cake.
They do. It's kind of how it started with the game, to be honest. So as some of you know, my friend Amar and I have been designing the game together, and we didn't exactly set out to design the game. We were just sort of chatting. It was lockdown. You remember lockdown? There was nothing.
Oh yeah, we all remember lockdown.
And I bake a lot, just as a hobby, for friends and family and work. And we were talking about cakes and sort of all the horrible things that happen in the world. And he was saying, we should just try and be more positive about how to handle problems. Like, give everyone cakes so they're happy. And that sort of took off from there. So it does come from a place where everyone likes cakes. Let's give them cakes and good things will happen.
Well, you mentioned your friend and colleague Amar. Now, Amar was originally going to be with us, but I'm afraid he went off and got married and decided that was more important than board games. I mean, come on.
Ridiculous. Wife, board game, clearly.
Board game.
Well, I suppose
We're the only one
my only counter is if you're what if your spouse likes playing board games with you, in which case locking in that player 2 for life is a good thing.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. And if you're out there and you are watching and you have a wife and you have board games, what would you pick? We like to know. We like to mix things up. I would definitely pick the option where you put your hands together. I'm doing a Joey. I want cake and I want wife. The only way I stay alive. Excuse me. Sorry.
So, yes,
Too much cake.
Yeah, far too much cake. It's clearly not good for you, Chris. You must stick with the board games.
Yeah, exactly. So you started designing the game around lockdown, and how many kind of fruitions and versions of the game would you say that you've gone through between then the initial design and now where you are now?
Oh, how long is a piece of string? The versions number in between the dozens to over 100, depending on sort of how many minor revisions count as a version of the game. Really, it's one of those things where the theme of the games have been unchanged. Aliens taking over with kicks. That's what Cake of Doom has always been about. But the rules have certainly changed a lot. Much more streamlined, making things clear for everyone, focusing on the fun. I personally remember it by sort of major rule changes, I would say, that got us here. And some of them took a while to get to. For example, one of the early changes we made was getting rid of a lot of numbers in the game. I'm a very math-heavy person. We were talking about Excel just a minute ago before you came on. And initially, we had all these cakes with different values in the game, which was really cool, except when you had to add all the numbers up. And it turns out not everyone else also liked math as much.
Right.
So we got rid of that. Another fun change we did was having different piles of cards to draw from, which actually gave people a really sort of good decision point to be making of. So actually, what do you want to focus on? Do you want cakes, or do you want sort of actions and the sabotaging things you can do? So that's I would say the second major change we made along the way.
Okay. So, I mean, give us a brief overview. I mean, myself and we've spoken before. Like we said, we met at UK Games Expo, and but for anyone who's not watched and not seen anything about Cake of Doom, can you give a brief summary of what the game is about? Because some people are going to be going, "What the hell? A game with cake and the aliens? What's going off?"
Yeah, it's perfectly intuitive. In Cake of Doom, or Cake of Doom, as everyone tends to call it.
Cake of Doom!
Cake of Doom! You're an alien. Everyone is an alien.
If it weren't for copyright, I would play the Doom music right now.
All the aliens are trying to take over the world using cakes. So what happens on your turn as an alien is you have a bunch of cards, and you'll play some cake cards to try and target one part of the world. Say, maybe it's Europe. Maybe you're trying to steal Asia from one of the other aliens, whatever it is, you put down a lot of kicks and that's your offer to them. And this is where all the other aliens come in, because they might sabotage your kicks, ruin the kicks so they're no longer good and your bribe doesn't work. Maybe you scrape through, depends. So you may or may not gain something, and then the next alien goes. The point of the game is basically just to get enough parts of the world so that you're in charge, overlord of Earth, as we like to say. Yeah, it's lots of fun little interactions and cute alien cakes in it. So it's quite a nice fun theme for friends who might not be gamers, families, but there's also enough weight and decision in there, I like to think, for people who play a lot of games to keep it interesting.
Okay. Oh, I've got a question from Chris Priscott. Do you have any exciting stretch goals rewards for the Kickstarter? Cakes and/or aliens designed by the backers for a higher tier reward. Stretch goal to buy an extra alien costume so that you and Amar both have an obligatory costume for next year's UK Games Expo. So I'm just going to put a bit of context on this for anyone who's not aware of this. So Pearl wore an alien costume at UK Games Expo, just gone, and that's what he's referring to.
That is a excellent question, Chris. The alien costume wasn't in there, but I think we may have to put one in now, just for the legacy of it. There are absolutely plans to have high-tier rewards where we work with backers to design a few kicks, as well as a few of these sabotage cards, which is sort of the anti-kicks, if you will. We need to working on sort of the right number of backers to limit this to, just to give ourselves enough time and space and to make sure, that it's manageable. But yeah, we are very excited to see what people might come up with.
That's always nice. I mean, I must admit, I quite like it when people are doing those kind of stretch goals where they give the backers the chance to have something of theirs inside the game. It's never a bad thing. And I think George has snuck something in here. Here we go. There we go. That is Pearl at UK Games Expo in her alien costume. We love it, and it's one of the things that we stuck out in our minds, didn't it, George, at UK Games Expo?
Definitely did.
Yeah, that's super cool. Very excited to see what people come up with. Yeah, exactly, and that's what that's one of the great bonuses of Kickstarter. Now we mentioned Kickstarter. Now for anyone who follows us and doesn't know yet what Kickstarter is a platform or crowdfunding platform that allows you to back designers who make board games or comic books, artwork, books, video games, all sorts, and get interest before they design and put too much commitment into their games. And Kickstarter's one of them. And this is what you're hoping to achieve, aren't you? You're hoping to bring your Kickstarter, if I remember correctly, March next year. Is that right?
March next year, absolutely. It's a dream. By next year, I hope to see a copy of Cake of Doom sitting on my shelf there, and I can die happy.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it. We all have, majority of us. I can't speak for George here, but majority of us board gamers have that IKEA Kallax in our rooms, as we can see yours there, and you can see mine behind me, full of board games. Yes, that is the dream. To have your own board game on a Kallax, and lots of people's Kallaxes as pride of place, because it's a nice touch, isn't it? George, where's your Kallax, mate? Come on.
Waiting for the house to fit it in.
I know. I do this all the time. I wind him up about it. I know. He's got lots of board games.
I would say I've got so many board games. I've got at least 3 piles in this room. We also have a full display cabinet full of games, and this is after already shipping out to several bags to our local board game cafe.
So Sam says he's on his way back from IKEA with their new Kallax. Nice.
I hope it's big enough.
And Sui, our resident word nerd, is also watching. She says they need a bigger house for one. Yes, of course you do. I know. You live in the same house as George.
Yes. Yeah, we've got so many games coming from Kickstarter. It's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we all have. I mean, that's. I mean, I know this. We often talk about obviously the games that you guys are designing yourselves. But what's the kind of games that attract you? Are you backing anything at the moment yourself, or what was the most recent one you have backed?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I started backing Kickstarter games. It's probably 5-6 years ago now. One of my favorite actually go-tos right now is called Bites by Board Games Table, and it's currently my go-to sort of warm-up game. So that's one of my Kickstarter favorites. I've got Library Labyrinth by Descent Games that is in the works. So I've playtested it before. I've seen the prototype, but I'm very excited to actually get that copy on my shelf. Yep. I spent some time with one of the local schools as well, so I'm hoping to actually get a chance to just bring it there and use play with some of the students. I think that'll be really exciting. That's so some of the Kickstarter highlights for me. What are your Kickstarter favorites, Chris and George?
Ooh. George, do you want to go first?
I've got so many, but before that, we have a question from Richard Watson again, asking, so for you, what was the hardest change you had to make during your development?
Oh, that's a tough question. It's I'm gonna go with removing topping cards from the game. This is one of those changes where we thought about it, and then we were so dead against it, and then sort of down the line, a couple of playtest by playtest, we sort of gradually realized that maybe we need to try it, or maybe it had to be done. Oh, actually, it works so much better. But it's so weird that it was something we were dead set against. So to give more context, I mentioned that in the game, you as an alien, you give people cakes, right, to bribe them over, and at the start, apart from cakes, we also had topping cards. So, for example, you might have like a chocolate sponge, and you have a topping card with cherries and another one with whipped cream on it, right? And if you combo them the right way, and there's sort of a nice combination, you get a bit of bonus for it, right? Like cream cheese and carrot cake and so on. And it was fun. It was satisfying when people stacked it together. It sort of gives you that joy. But I think it was bringing the game too much complexity for what we were actually aiming for and for the fun it was worth. So we decided to try it out, and in the end, sort of kept the streamlined version of the game. And I think maybe for me personally, that was one of the first major changes I made. That was against my initial instinct. And it was, in a way, quite helpful as a designer, sort of realizing that actually my instinct could very well be wrong, and I just need to try it out sometimes. I think it's a great question, Rich.
Yeah, it is a good question, and I think it's all too familiar. Yeah, I definitely agree with you that one. That things do change when you're designing a game, and you've not got to be too precious. It's difficult. You've got to stay pragmatic.
Absolutely, and it's one of the good things I think about having sort of me and Amara as two designers in it. That way, sort of you've got someone to sound something off with and to challenge each other, right? Like, well, you seem to really like toppings, but are you sure that's because it makes the game better, or just because you really love it as a person, right?
Yeah.
So it's very helpful.
It is tough. But going back to the question, George. So what? Go on. You got to pick one. You got to pick a Kickstarter that you know that's your go-to.
It depends what I'm in the mood for. I mean, it sounds like a cop-out question, but we've bought so many different Kickstarters for so many different reasons. Nowadays, we tend to only get Kickstarters when it's going to be a good two-player experience. Just because we're unfortunately through lockdown, we didn't see our friends as often as we wanted to.
Yeah,
and it's the majority of the time. We're all adults now. We aren't teenagers anymore. However much we wish we were, we don't get to see our friends every night and every weekend.
No. You're not living in each other's basements all the times. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and it was just we basically sort of made a rule that if we weren't happy playing it as two players, we really weren't considering it, because it was so we got a whole load of two players, and I think certainly the one which it was two that stand out to me that we've really, really enjoyed and gone back to and sit out in the pile. One of them is Pachacuna from Triceratops, which is basically a little game about llamas and Bolivian market traders trading llama wool of various colours, which is really tactical, and I absolutely love it. And the other one is Mantis Falls, which is a social deduction game for 2 to 3 players.
Yeah.
Because we don't like social deduction games at all, and this is why we had to back Pachacuna.
Llamas, yeah. Joe Paul likes that one as well. He loves the little llama meeples. That's always nice. Yeah. For me, it is a difficult one, but I will probably say it's all the way over there. I got it just recently. While I still haven't had much chance to play it, I still love it, which is the Marvel Dice Throne. I do like it. I do like a good dice game. But from other Kickstarter perspectives, I actually haven't backed that many, to be completely honest. And I've still got some that I'm excited to play yet to arrive. So, yeah.
Yeah, Sam's been sharing our lovely Dino Girls favourites from Kickstarters lately. So, current favourite is Partners, the 2-player role-playing game, which is a good one, which has got a great review on our website. Let's go check out some more information on that.
Yeah, we do.
Lots more on the way.
Yes, because there's always lots more.
We all like our Kickstarters.
Well, this is the thing, this is the kind of next question that I was going to come to you. So it's come at the right time. So thank you, George, for leading into that one. It's like it was planted. It's like we planned this show we don't, but at all. But it's all on the coast. Did you think about going straight to production rather than a Kickstarter? You know, would have it been an option, or is it Kickstarter always been the option for you for self-publication?
Yeah, no, it's a fair question. And I think quite early on, sort of a couple of times after we started designing an actual game, as co-creators, Amar and I sort of sat down and talked. Well, actually, what are we trying to do here, right? Are we going to pitch the game? Are we going to crowdfund it? Are we going to just make it? Because actually, you do put in sort of a reasonable financial commitment up front, and as you could well consider, as you pointed out, just producing the game as an option. But I think for us, there's almost a little bit of going through that journey and learning at each step along that journey. And I think that trying to crowdfund it is an exciting part of that, and we want to go through that, almost want to earn it in a way. Obviously, retailing on a shelf and so on, there's still a lot of the sense of earning it, if you will. But I think it's the excitement about that being, you build a community. It's people you can interact with. It's backers who actually sort of become part of your game, as opposed to just buying something off the shelf that's already made and completed. Yeah. If that makes sense. So I think we knew quite early on that was the way we were going to go. Okay. And this is not part of your question, but I've just got to pick out the comment about the little llama meeples, because
hey, we love custom meeples.
Little alien meeples. We love alien meeples.
Yeah.
It's a crowd favorite. We've got to hold a naming competition for the little alien meeple, I think.
Oh, yeah. I think that's got people already. Joe Paul says he's in. Sui's so cute. Yeah, custom meeples have a surprisingly big drag for people. I mean, I wasn't originally going to back Isle of Trains by Dranda until I was at the expo, just got on, of course, and they said that at their backing level they were going to be doing custom, train meeples, and then they had the Time Machine one. And I was just like, yeah, sold, done. It's the Time Machine. You can't name the Time Machine, but I'm sure if some people really know what I'm going on about when I say Time Machine train, then we can all assume. Put two and two together.
Well, we all know it's going to be called Doc, don't we, Chris?
Well, I'll be calling it, the M&L.
By its actual name, yes, but we don't want to infringe any copyrights here.
No, not at all. So I will prepare the pun names, says Chris. Yeah, that I'm not at all surprised. Yeah, it's always a great one when people come up with pun names.
Well, I do like your Xena meeples.
Yeah. Okay, so here's a question that we put out on social media recently, but I'm going to put it to you. Apart from your own game, what's your favorite custom meeple?
Ooh, a custom meeple. I think it's borderline meeple or not meeple, but there is bites on my shelf has little ant meeples, right? They look like an ant. Second language problems. Anyway, the insect, and one of them has zebra stripes. Like, it's got black and white stripes, and it has like a special function that jumps around the board, and it's a personal favorite.
That does sound very good.
That is good. George, what's yours?
I do like the llamas.
Yeah, you like the llamas, do you?
Off the top of my head, I will stick with the llamas.
Okay. Well, Sui's mentioned the one I was going to mention, which is Dave, the red panda from Snapshot. That's my favorite. Yeah. And the fact that he has a name, is it sits close to my heart, because of course, we were involved with the Kickstarter for those guys and doing their review quite early on, and we loved the game to the point where most of us have a copy of that game. Yes, that was a Kickstarter.
David's been on his travels, apparently.
Yeah. So
he's currently in Paris.
Ooh, Joe Paul's looking forward to the dim sum meeples in Steam Up. That is a good one.
Excellent shot. Especially for me personally, because some of you know I'm from Hong Kong, born and raised, and dim sum is obviously the traditional cuisine there. So Excellent shout, Joe.
That is an excellent shout. Yeah, that is really good. And Steph says Dinosaur Meeples in Dinosaur World. Well, I could have predicted that one. Dino Girl isn't called Dino Girl for any other reason. And Chris says, are there any games from your childhood that you think had a heavy influence on the games you enjoy playing and designing as an adult? Great question, Chris. Thank you.
Oh, I think I have a strange story on that. I feel like everyone talks about how they've been playing board games since they were kids, and I'm a little bit the other way around. So as a child, I played some abstract strategy games. I played Go. I played a little bit of Chinese chess. I'm absolutely rubbish at it. And sometimes I've seen Monopoly, or Risk, but I wasn't a big board gamer. I just didn't happen to stumble across it. So I didn't actually start playing a lot of what's on the shelf type board games until I was in university type age, so 18, 19. I'm sure sort of a lot of things had an influence in a way, and but I wouldn't be able to sort of point to maybe like this one source of inspiration per se. But what were your childhood games?
Oh, see that. So I thought you were going to ask that, and I was thinking about it. So childhood board games for me were kind of stemmed from playing board games with my nan. God bless her. She introduced me to things like obviously Scrabble. Scrabble's a great popular one in our household. My dad, my mum and I all love it. She also introduced me to Yahtzee, so hence my love of dice games. But also Othello. Have you heard of Othello?
Ringing a big bell.
Basically, it's a big board, a bit like a chessboard, checkers board, where you have a double-sided black and white tiles that you place and flip as you strategically around the board. And the aim of the game is to basically have a field of white or a field of black, depending on whichever color that you're playing. And my nan was what introduced me to that, and it was one of our stable favorites. And we'd play it for hours in her little summer house. She'd be knitting away. Fond memories of her just knitting and churning out item of clothing, all the while kicking my butt at Othello until I got a little bit older and started winning. Yeah, Joe Paul, thank you. Yeah, great. It is a good game. It is a great game. Just introduced my wife to it 2 weeks ago. Oh, is she kicking your butt yet? George, what about you?
I know we mention it a lot on the podcast, but I'm not mentioning it in a positive light here. Monopoly, because it was one of the few board games that we actually did play, and I think it introduced me to the board game hell aspects of where I don't like player elimination in games. It bugs me, and I think that is a very heavy influence in what I like and don't like as an adult. That player elimination aspect, I always think sucks in any game that you're playing.
Yeah.
I've actually got a Monopoly story specifically for that. So I didn't really play Monopoly much as an adult after I got into board games. But this one time, with some friends in uni, we decided to break it out because at that point we'd been playing games for about 24 hours. We were young, we had lots of energy, and it was almost.
I was thinking after 24 hours, surely that's the point where your consciousness has got to the point that you didn't know better than to say no.
We thought maybe it gets better, and we've forgotten the fun bits, right? So okay, yeah, we'll try. It's probably like midnight or 1 a.m. at that point, and because of the player elimination, 2 people sort of got the game really quickly. It was me and my other friend left, and they just sort of literally fell asleep on the side. So 2 hours later, woke up and they're like, "Yeah, game's done. Huh? Who won? Not important. We're not mad at each other. Let's just all go home. I'll see you next week." And that is where I'll leave that story.
Love it. I like that.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Sam says Steph's is Cluedo, and for him it was Scrabble. Yeah, you see, I think Scrabble seems to be quite a big one for a lot of people. There was one other game that I grew up with, and it was it wasn't Monopoly, but it was the younger equivalent called Hotel. I loved that as a kid. That was another one I played as a child. And if you listen to our podcast, you'll have heard me talk about that on our podcast before, where we talked about nostalgia and our early games that we played as kids. So you can always check that out if you're into podcasts. Go check it out, please. Feel free. Little plug there, sorry.
Have either of you played Chinese checkers?
Nope.
It's got little marbles on it, and it's got a star-shaped board with 6 sides.
Oh yes, I have played Chinese checkers. Yes.
Yeah. It's weird because I didn't even think of it as a board game when it first came up earlier, but I played that all the time with my little brother. It's one of the only games we could play actually because he's my little brother's autistic, and he's he functions day to day and so on. But if there's anything sort of worthy or overly complicated, it's just not going to happen. So yeah, nostalgia, Chinese checkers. Check it out.
There you go. Yeah, Richard Lawton's on the same as me here. Loved Hotel. The paper buildings were great. Yes, they were. And then unfortunately, until they fell apart. Yes, that is very true too. I actually was so nostalgic about it. I actually went online and found broken parts on eBay to replace broken parts, Richard. I was that nostalgic about it. Oh, another classic in my home growing up too. Yeah, Joe. Yeah, it's a good one. Sam's definitely one with you though. He says both of us have played Chinese checkers a little. Yeah. So. Yeah, it's crazy.
I have perhaps a really interesting question about the game though.
Yes.
There's obviously lots of cakes. Have you got recipes for them all?
Oh, I'm gonna at this point hold up some of the cakes, and you will see why I don't necessarily have baked them in my kitchen. So this is a starry fruit cake.
Oh wow!
A red dwarf cake, black hole cake, galaxy lemon. I think you get it. So they're sort of spacey earth cake combinations. We are toying with the idea of maybe coming up with recipes with some of them. I think it'll be a fun experiment as a baker, and also probably a good angle to play with the concept a bit. But they're not exactly your sort of everyday home bakes. The other kind of cakes we do have are I like these. So I've got a tiramisu here, and wrong side, and a moon cake as well. So these are real life earth cakes, but they're sort of regional specialties. You associate them with a part of the world. So for example, as someone who grew up from Hong Kong, mooncakes is quite a fun one. I've made that before, sort of when I was younger, as sort of an activity. So yeah, yes and no. There are recipes for some of our cakes, and if anyone has any ideas on how we would go about baking a starry fruit cake, your input will be very welcome.
I'm sure you can find a baker out there who will help you write a cookbook.
Yeah.
That's a stretch goal. There you go.
Yeah. Without a doubt. Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, George, sorry, beat me to it. Steph says what's your favorite cake game, and may she try to make it?
Ooh, I think personally my favorite cake in the game is the Galaxy Lemon Cake.
Oh, you had to put it out there, Steph. There you go.
That's what it looks like right now. I expect this by next week, say?
Give her a couple of weeks, but yes. Yeah. Oh, Chris likes this one. He likes the idea of comedy recipes. Add 5 million cups of collapsed stars. Oh, is that for the black hole by any chance? Right, so we've got one more question from Sui. Go for it, George. And then I've got, we just want to talk about some more of the specifics on some of the cards, if that's all right. So what's your favorite real life cake then, Pearl?
Oh, that is a difficult question. I do love a souffle cheesecake. So this is also called a Japanese cheesecake. If you've heard of it, it's basically very fluffy and light, but it's a cheesecake. Sometimes you've got a layer of jam, and it's nice because you can eat so much of it. It's just lovely. But I always, a lovely dense chocolate cake. I could never turn that down either.
Oh, okay. Oh, she's accepted the throwdown. There you go. There we go. Love it.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah. So, George, can you bring up the first screenshot of the cards, please? So, here is some of the cards that you are in your game. Can you explain some of the elements of the game for us? If that would be really useful. Because, of course, you've got your obligatory player aids, but I think some people might want to know a little bit more about them.
No, absolutely. So I do nowadays talk about Cake of Doom. So on the top of the picture there, you sort of see a little bit of the two piles of cards. So the green pile is full of cakes, right? Like the starry fruit cake or like the glass lemon cake that we were just looking at. And this is what you play to make an offer to win over a region with, right? So you might, for example, look at Asia in the middle there. You might play 5 of these cake cards for Asia. And then to the right of that, there's so the bottom of the deck, and it's a mix of blue and pink. We're seeing the pink bits right now. That is the Mischief deck. It's got various actions and sabotages in there. So these are things like, for example, steal another player's cake, or block a sabotage, or sabotage card that might be a space teddy that will steal 1 cake from someone else. So these are player interaction cards, if you will, and they come into play in your own turn as well as in other people's turn while they're giving kicks to Asia or another region. So you have things to do during your own turn as well as on other people's turn to mess things up for them if that's your cup of tea. Another thing I want to highlight is draw trackers up on the top left of the screen there. So you've got the little alien meeple that we saw earlier. But actually, the point of that, not just because it's awesome, the point of that is because the game escalates as we go. So every time we go back around to the start player, everyone starts to draw more cards on their turn. So it goes from drawing 1 card per turn to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 and so on. And we found that it worked really well to keep things moving, make sure that you want to do things, you want to play your cards because you're going to get more. And it lets us end on a climax, if you will, of action-filled rounds towards the end. And it typically is always between round 5 and 7 as well. So nice and short that way.
Yeah.
So in this one, it's really nice because you can see some of the action sabotages as well as the alien cards. So I'll start with the middle, actually. You see card with Doom written on it.
Yeah.
That card is how you win the game. So as aliens, your purpose here is to win over 2 regions of the world. So say Africa and America. And then you go for the Doom. Right? You've got a foothold, you go for the Doom, the democratic order of mankind. And if you control it, you win the game. To control regions, as I said, you play cakes like the black hole cake on the top right. As you do that, players will play those pink sabotage cards. So, for example, the alien baby or the cake monster on the bottom right there. Mm-hmm. There's also a blaster on the bottom left there. So when you put down those green cake cards and you say, okay, I'm targeting Africa, here's 4 kicks. People will play those pink cards, right? They're players, and they might negotiate it there, right? They might even say, "Oh, I'll do it if you do it." And you might try to talk them down, but they might play, say, the -1 blaster, and that blasts away one of your kicks. And you've got to meet a minimum threshold in order to win your region, but you can't add any kicks anymore. So there's an element of taking a risk there, also bluffing a little bit almost to see how far you can push it. So you're not wasting kicks, but also you want to still win the region. So that's what happens in a round. One element we tend to add on after the first game are the actual aliens. Because, it's cakes and aliens after all. And you can see those at near the bottom of the screen where it says Xavier and Sally and Paolo. Yeah. And we give one of these to each player random, and that's the alien you are. And comes with a unique ability. So, for example, Sally the Saboteur there, in the middle, with the orange head and the cool blue hair. If you're Sally, your -1 sabotages are worth -2, so it hits them harder when you want to mess with someone else.
Okay, that's good.
It's a nice little way to add a bit of variation, keeps things a bit different, let you try some other strategies.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is that I really love about is the whimsical art. Did you guys do the art yourselves, or was this someone you contracted in to do the artwork?
Yeah. I wish I did the art myself, Chris. I really do. We went a bit of journey with artists actually. So currently the art's done by Rob Engel, who I think some of your listeners have met and know as well. But actually, at very first case, we had a friend of mine named Judy who did some of the earlier art, and some of her drawings are still being used for some of the cakes. Excellent. As well. But we actually met Rob through designing the game. I met him. I think it was probably AirCon actually from March this year. And then when we needed an artist later on, he jumped in. So it's funny how the small community, in a way, I guess, comes into play here.
And this is one of the things. The fact that you said that has kind of led me into my next question. Is the community of gamers that is on social media. So whether you're a TikToker or whether you're a Facebook user or a Twitter, we all kind of follow each other on those relevant platforms, and I can't speak for yourself, but I myself have found the community is extremely supportive, and there for each other. Is that your personal experience with the community?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, things like joining mentorship programs, right? That like the tabletop mentorship program that is ran out of the States, but it's international. Things like meeting a fellow designer like Richard, like Chris at events, and actually staying in touch, following each other, asking for help. For example, I mentioned Library Labyrinth earlier. I've sort of met the creators there before, and when they have a couple of cards in there that are sort of culturally sort of rooted in Chinese history, which is part of the world I'm from, and we talked a little bit about that, right? I needed advice at one point on what's the best place to put some prototypes for Cake of Doom, and what do you do? Post on Twitter, ask in a Discord group, and the amount of help you get, it's just amazing. People going out of their way to offer advice and help. And also, I think we genuinely like each other, I think, most of the time. And I'd like to think people make friends and lifelong relationships out of the community, and that's a very big part of it, right? Ultimately, we're not here just to calculate the value of the cards or just to win the victory points. I think that the human element is a big part of what keeps people playing games and making games and drawing art for games.
And exactly agree. I love that. That's a very good point. So thank you for making that. One of the things that I missed earlier that I'm actually just going to highlight now, actually, because of course it's from our man Richard Lawton, but he actually made a very good point, actually, and I like the idea. He said, "Can the box insert be made of silicone so you can bake with it?"
That is an amazing idea, Richard. I cannot believe we hadn't thought of it.
Yeah, that is a brilliant idea.
Right there.
That is genius, Richard. So it's a touche. So if we see that added onto the Kickstarter, we know where that came from. We know that came from here. This conversation.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, exactly. So Joe Paul has come up with another comment. He says, "I knew I heard of you and heard of Cake of Doom. I'm also on the Tabletop Designer Partnership. Cool to see worlds cross paths." Yes, it is lovely.
Small world, Joe. Small world.
It is, yeah.
And then you've got those that are just here for the cake.
Brutally honest.
Yeah. And to be completely honest, we get regular watches and rewatch back on this show. We may not have the masses of traffic that people initially get on our live streams, and then it tops out. But we often get the consistent people watching from start to finish, and then we'll get stuff coming at a later date, which is always lovely. We have a designated religious almost following, and it's nice that we're seeing it more and more in our live streams, and the fact that we're up to episode 25 and we're still going strong and still enjoying it is what's important when it comes to it. But also it's the same thing. It's about is being enjoying the process of designing the board games as well. Has there been any point where you've gone, what have I done? Or has it always been the excitement and the next step?
I'm going to be honest, right? There were definitely points that feel a bit more doubtful, a bit less exciting. And I think for me personally, one of the bits is when sort of it came to the point where we had to think a bit more about marketing the game, right? The logistics of manufacturing and shipping, instead of sort of working out how the game works, because that's now sort of the game's not finished, but that's more or less settled. And it's in a way interesting to learn about these things, but I think marketing, especially for me personally, it doesn't come naturally. Going to events and telling people the game, showing them the game, I love that. But putting out ads on social media, or putting out sort of template that's designed to attract people with the right hashtag. So that's just that to me felt a lot like work initially, and it felt strange, and it didn't feel good doing it. And and there's a little bit of reflection of going, oh, why did I decide to crowdfund this? You know, I could have just printed it. I could just have pitched it. Why am I putting myself through that? But I think it's coming back to reminding yourself of what the purpose was, right? Is the moments of joy you do get when actually someone on social media comments and say, oh yeah, I saw you at Games Expo. I loved it. Tagging a friend to check it out, right? Then you remember, that's why, because I loved it when I saw someone play it and their smile of joy.
Yes.
Right. So it's not always roses and unicorns, but
exactly.
I think anything worth doing, right? There will be things to work through.
Exactly, and that's a very good point. If it's worth doing, yes, it's worth fighting for. Yes, without a doubt. So, of course, if people are interested and want to check out more about your game, the best thing to do is to go to the website. Yeah. Absolutely.
So we are at www.cakeofdoom.com, which is being brought right now. Absolutely, yeah. So you can see yourself sign up for news. We do a monthly-ish newsletter where you can get updates straight to your inbox. If you want just to see a bit more about the game as well, if you click on the three lines at the top left there, there's also a recipe bit, which is the recipe for our game. So if you go down a bit, you can see a bit more about Cake of Doom's specifics. There are also links to play online for free on Screen Top, on Tabletopia, on Tabletop Simulator, if you want.
Nice.
And if you're already on Kickstarter, you can also, instead of the website, you can also go to our pre-launch page, which I think you have on another tab right there. Perfect. And if you set your project is a great boost for us, but also it means you'll be the first to know when we launch in March.
Yeah. Well, I've already got it saved, and I think I've had it saved for a little while now. I think I've had it saved since when we discussed it at UK Games Expo, and I just wish you all the best with it as we go forward. We're hopefully going to be in receipt of a review copy in the coming months, so Pearl and Amar are happily sending one over to us. I've got a sneaky feeling there may be a small disagreement or maybe fight who reviews this game. I can see it appealing to two possible members of Diary of a Lincoln Geek, and I'm going to pitch it now. I'm going to say it's going to go between Sam or maybe Gregor. I don't know yet. We'll see. There could be someone else. There could be Suey in there as well, maybe.
You could always have a bake-off to work it out. What could be more appropriate?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll find out. We'll see. But there's some typical card gamers and of this kind of theme that within our group of reviewers that I can see wanting to do this. And I mean, I love it from the quirky artwork because any of the Diary of a Lincoln Geek crew will say that Chris is a stickler for theme and nice artwork, and it's definitely oozing with that. So it's definitely piqued my interest without a doubt. Right, well, look, unless we've got anyone else online with any other questions, I think we're probably going to give it a call at that and say thank you ever so much for coming on the show, Pearl, unless you have any questions for us.
Ooh. Well, another light one. I talked a lot about cakes, but we haven't heard from yourselves. What's your favorite cake?
Ooh, my favorite cake. It's got to be definitely a nice piece of cheesecake, without a doubt. Yeah.
Love a cheesecake.
Yeah.
Baked or no bake?
Ooh, now that's the question.
Depends if it's done well. A baked cheesecake has to be just right.
Yes.
If it collapses, it's awful. If it's grainy, it's awful. But if it's just that beautiful, fluffy velvetiness, like you, I love Japanese cheesecakes, and I love sort of your traditional set cheesecakes as well. It's got
to be nicely fluffy baked cheesecake or a moist carrot cake. And shut up before you say anything, George.
You like my carrot cake, mate.
I love your carrot cake. Yes. So George makes an amazing carrot cake. So it's a close tie between a baked cheesecake and a carrot cake. What about yours, George?
So I'm a cheesecake man. I love my cheesecakes. I mostly do a lemon cheesecake that's really nice.
Lovely classic.
Yes, yeah. Sam's is a Japanese cheesecake, lemon drizzle, and my grandpa's rainbow cake. Oh, that's sweet. I like that. Brilliant. Well, what a lovely note, a lovely sweet note to end on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always, chatting to you, Pearl. I look forward to speaking to you later when we hope to get the review ready to go out onto the Kickstarter. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone that's joined on the show, has come on and proposed questions. It's always nice to have the live banter and the conversation that's going on the shows. And of course, Chris Prescott says, thanks all, some great insights, and I can't wait till next March to snag myself a copy. Yeah, I think a lot of us will be snagging a copy of this Kickstarter, because it definitely does whet the appetite and gets the inspiration for some baking going on. So, but one thing I wanted to mention was, of course, what we've got coming up lined up next month. We've got quite a lot of reviews coming out live on the website. George, can you remember what we've got coming up?
Oh, I'm not sure I want to spoil everything, but certainly we have some lovely stuff from the Tinkerbot Boys coming up this month. We've got another one from One Min, for you might remember from one of the really early board game shows.
Yeah,
and some of our tabletop simulators that we finally managed to bully Dan Naughty's back from holiday, so we can get those played and reviewed. So got a good month coming up.
Yeah,
we're keeping the eye out on stuff.
Exactly, and we've also got next month. We've got Chris Bocky back on the show. From No Box Games. He's going to be coming on and chatting to us. So if you haven't already hit that link on the YouTube and got that notification button, then go and do that now, so you get that notification when we're live chatting to him, because we're going to be not just chatting to him, but we're going to be chatting to I cannot pronounce this, Rock Adelanon, and then Kristen Vosch, the artist and the marketing genius behind what is No Box Games. So it should be a great chat. We're going to have 3 of them on the show, along with the regular Diary of a Lincoln Geek crew. November is a good one. This is another one to put in your diaries. We are going to be chatting with Becky and Mondo from TikTok. For anyone who knows board game TikTok well, then that's going to be an interesting show to watch out for. And then, of course, our Christmas special. Whoop, whoop. Lots of interesting things.
And of course, all the time, if you ever want to find out anything Diary of a Lincoln Geek, do go to the website www.doalg.co.uk or diaryofalincolngeek.com if you like typing along things. We've also got our link tree in the chat where you can find us on all of our social media and everywhere. And if you really want to support us, we have a Ko-fi account, we have Patreon, and anything you can do helps us make sure you get your great content. So do go check those out, guys. And of course, if you want to get involved in the conversation with us, do join us on Discord. Some of us are pretty much on there all the time, and you can pretty much guarantee to find a good conversation any time of the day.
There you go. Thank you very much, George, for those obligatory links. In the meantime, everyone, thank you again so much. Take care, stay safe, and keep gaming.
Yeah, you're geeking.
Keep gaming.